Hi, I'm Jake with Sprouting Spoons, and as we get closer to the holiday season, we're all baking a lot more cookies. So today we're going to be making a date in walnut pinwheel cookie. So for this recipe, we're going to be using 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of granulated sugar, a ½ cup of water, another 1/4 cup of sugar, a 1/4 cup of walnuts, 1/2 cup of dates, or about 7 whole, a ½ cup of butter, 1 egg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, salt, and baking soda. So to make our dough, we're going to start off with 1 cup of sugar, and we're going to add into it our ½ cup or 1 stick of butter. We made it nice and soft by letting it sit out for a little while. And we're just going to blend that together until it gets nice and creamy. If you have a hand mixer, you can absolutely use that. Might be a little quicker, but we're just going to use our spatula and show you that you can do it by hand. Just going to mash it together. Once all of our butter and sugar has been beaten together like that, we can go ahead and add in 1 egg. Just go ahead and blend. Until the whole egg is incorporated. Once it starts getting nice and fluffy, you can go ahead and add in your 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Before we start stirring, we're going to go ahead and add in our 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon, salt, and baking soda right on top there. Let's give it a little blend real quick. And we'll just stir in our flour, and this should become our dough. If you're using a machine to blend this together, you're going to want to be careful not to overmix. But when you do it by hand, you have a little bit more room for error. So once it starts to come together, we're going to go ahead and start mashing it so we don't overmix. It's a good way to incorporate the ingredients without doing a lot of stirring. If you overmix, you end up getting tough cookies. So after your dough becomes a nice firm ball, we can go ahead and save it for later. It's going to want to chill in the refrigerator for about ½ an hour or so. You can wrap it in plastic wrap if you'd like, or you can just kind of shape it into a little rectangle and let it rest like that. And we'll go ahead and make our filling while it rests. So for our filling, we're going to take our whole dates, we have 7 of them, and we're going to need to pit them. So we're just going to take our little paring knife and come in through the center. Give it a nice little slice and open it up and remove the seed. We're going to do that to all of them. If you want, you could always buy pre-pitted dates or even chopped dates for this would be okay. I love dates, they're like nature's candy. Sweet and delicious. Okay. After they all have the pits removed, we're going to go ahead and chop them. Looks like a little stem got in there. We're going to start by making little sticks out of them. Ooh, they are very sticky. Just be aware of that. And if you do come across any other stems, make sure you take those out, because they'll stay hard in this. Another. Once you have your little pile of date sticks, you can go through and chop them the other way. And this will dice them up for you. You don't need them to be super fine or even because they'll end up mushing into a paste after you boil them. But it's good to give them a head start, which is why we chop them up. So we're going to go ahead and put them in a saucepan. And we're going to add in our half a cup of water, our quarter cup of sugar, and some chopped walnuts. I'm starting with some walnut pieces, a quarter cup of them, but I want them to be a little bit smaller, that way they get nice and broken up in our paste, so you don't end up with any huge pieces, but you still get some texture and flavor in there. Once your walnut pieces are chopped up a little bit more, we're going to add them in with our dates. We're going to put this over a medium-low heat and let them simmer until the walnuts have softened a little bit and the dates start to break down. So after about 2 to 5 minutes, your date and walnut mixture is going to thicken up quite substantially, and it's going to look like a jelly or like a chutney. And then you're going to take it off of the heat and let it cool down so that we can spread it on the inside of our cookie dough once we roll it out. So after your dough has rested in the refrigerator for about an hour or so, it should be nice and firm. You're going to want to pull it out and let it rest for about 10 minutes so it becomes a little bit more pliable. And your filling should be about room temperature or cooler. If it's a little bit warmer, it'll be better because it'll spread easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to shape our dough into a little bit of a log, or at least pull it out and keep it in a log, and we're going to put it on a small piece of parchment paper. You can do it just on the counter, it's fine, but I find that the parchment helps roll it. We're going to put the dough log in alignment with the parchment paper so we can make a nice big rectangle. We're just going to press in and kind of roll it out a little bit. If it cracks, it's okay. Don't be afraid of the dough. You can always mash it together and keep it going so it retains its shape like that. And then we're going to turn it around, and again, just make sure it keeps its edges and shapes because the goal is a big rectangle. So as you roll, if you notice that it's sticking a little bit to the rolling pin, you can add a little bit more flour. And if it's still a little tough on you, you can always let it rest another like 5 or so minutes until it softens up. I'm just going to be gentle and keep rolling. Coming back occasionally to mush the dough to keep our rectangular shape. I'm just going to roll it until it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. And once it's nice and thick, we're going to trim off the edges real quick to make it a little bit more even. These don't have to be perfect, it's just to give you a little easier guideline. Oh. And again, it's just dough, so if it breaks off like that, you can press it together a little bit more. You can re-roll those scraps into little tiny cookies if you want. A little treat for you so you can see how it tastes without having to take away from your little rolled cookies. And then we're going to take our date filling and put it right on top. Just kind of mush it down. You don't want to press too hard so your nuts don't penetrate through the dough. And go ahead and get the rest of that in there. Once it's all smoothed out and most of your layers of dough is covered, we're going to roll it up. I like to leave a bit of an edge on both sides, that way when we roll we've got a little bit of room for the jam to smear out. And then we're going to go ahead and take the edge and flip it up into itself. Don't worry if it cracks just a hair right there. You don't want it to, but if it does, it's the inside right now, so that's okay. And the reason we use the parchment paper is so we can just keep rolling it around nice and tight. And then we can finish rolling it up like so. If you crack, it's not the end of the world. We can just pull that around. Perhaps if we had added a splash of water to our dough, it would have been a little smoother and less cracky on us. So we're just going to make it nice and tight with our parchment paper like so, and let it refrigerate in this form for about 10 minutes or so, just to let it all rest and tighten up, and then we'll slice it into little pieces and go ahead and bake them. So after your dough is rested a little bit, we're going to go ahead and take our knife and just cut in about 1/4 of an inch or a little bit bigger pieces. And if you have any that fall apart like this one kind of did, you can try to reform it a hair, or you can set that off to the side on your tray. That might not be the prettiest ones, which is always good because then you can have some for yourself. I'm just going to come in and cut our pieces, trying to be even. Okay, so then we're just going to come in here and take them and flip them over, and you can see your little twirl in there. It's exactly what you want. And we're going to set them on our baking tray that has been lined with parchment paper. And again, always reshape it a little bit. Probably going to set these about 1.5 inches or so apart. It's always good to bake your cookies in batches so that there's plenty of room for them to spread out. One more on here. And then we're going to bake them in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 12 minutes or so, and we'll look at them from there. So it's been about 15 minutes. Our oven is a little cool today, but they are done. We have, you can notice a little bit of browning around the edges, but not too terribly much, but they've definitely puffed up a little bit. So we're going to let them cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now that our cookies are nice and cool, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. Those dates are so soft and chewy, caramely, perfect for a winter, fall cookie. Get yourself a cup of tea and enjoy these.